Hi Paradise family. So today we are here to learn how to make the Sabisa by Inality Design. A fantastic crossbody with a very nice large front flap, very deep inside the bag. Also includes a zipper pocket on the back side of the bag. Um, on the inside of the bag, it includes a double slip pocket and a slip pocket or a zipper pocket as well. It is a crossbody bag, but you could shorten that strap to make it just a shoulder bag. A couple of things that I'm going to change about the bag. I'm going to end up doing a drop-in lining instead of a birth bag, so we're not going to turn it right side out. We're just going to drop the lining in. I'm also not going to use piece number 10, which is the strap connectors. Instead, I'm going to use some connectors that I'm going to attach, some hardware connectors that I'm going to attach to the side gusset of the bag. And then I'm also going to change how I'm not going to add any piping to the outside of the bag. Of course, you can add that piping. I just chose on this bag to not do any piping at all. So I'm just going to do just the straight panels with the side gussets, and I'm not going to do any piping at all. I just couldn't find any piping that I really liked to match the theme of the bag, so I chose to do just no piping. So because I'm going to do a drop-in lining, there is some prep work that you're going to have to do, and I'll go over all of that in the video so that you can see and have it done and ready to go, so that when we go to start the bag, you don't have to worry about adding those marked lines later on. So with that being said, I just know that you're going to love making this bag. Super simple, comes together really quick. It's a lot of fun to make. There's lots of different ways that you can customize this bag, especially with that big front flap that's on there. You can really do some cool embroidery work on there, or you can use a nice panel for that front flap. Some other ways that you can customize this bag, so instead of adding your connectors on the side of the bag, you could also add the connectors to the front part of the bag, so then you have a double strap for more of a shoulder style bag rather than a crossbody bag. So with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so we should have all of our pieces cut and ready to go. Some prep work that you may want to do before we actually get started with the bag is on your zipper trim. You'll want to cut your hole out and add some double-sided sticky tape. On your zipper placket, on the top part, you'll want to go ahead and add some double-sided sticky tape to the tops of all 4 pieces. On your strap connector, which, as I mentioned, I'm actually omitting this piece in the pattern, but I wanted to go ahead and mention it, you'll want to mark down the center and add double-sided sticky tape to both pieces. On your bottom piece, you'll want to go ahead and add your Decoville Heavy and install your purse feet. On piece 7, which is the side piece, as I mentioned, I'm doing a drop-in lining with this bag rather than birthing it. So on your top part of all 4 pieces, you'll want to measure, if you're going to do a drop-in lining rather than birthing it, you'll want to mark 1 inch down and add some double-sided sticky tape to all 4 pieces. And then also mark the center at the top of your piece number 7. Piece number 6, which is our lining top panel, You'll again want to mark 1 inch down from the top and add double-sided sticky tape. This is for the drop-in lining portion. For piece number 5, you'll want to go ahead and install your magnetic snap female side to the lining piece and mark your centers. For piece number 4, you'll want to again mark 1 inch down, add double-sided sticky tape, and mark your centers. For piece number 3, on our slip pocket exterior piece, you'll want to add your male magnetic snap to this. For piece number 2, you'll just want to mark your centers. And then for piece number 1, which is our exterior back panel, you'll want to mark 1 inch down from the top and add double-sided sticky tape and mark your centers. Additional prep work that you may want to also do is your slip pocket inside. I went ahead and measured in and folded my sides in and added my slip pocket trim across the top. If you want to follow the instructions for the pattern on how to do that, you can. But I do mine this way, so I just fold it in half, fold my edges in, and then add my top strip to it. You'll also want to go ahead and find the centers on your zipper pockets. So on both of these zipper pockets. On your long zipper, you'll want to go ahead and fold your one side of this down by 90 degrees and either sew this in place little tack stitches. I tend to melt mine, it's just a lot easier. So go ahead and set all those pieces to the side. And we want to pull out one of our zipper trims and our piece number 1. And we're going to add our zipper trim to our exterior back panel piece. You can either use the pattern placement to see where this needs to go, or you can measure down. If you're going to measure down, it's 2 3/4 and centered. So we'll go ahead and add that and sew all around the outside edge of the zipper. Okay, so we should now have our zipper panel attached to our back exterior panel. And then we want to cut away from our back exterior panel, exposing that zipper panel. Okay, go ahead and throw this piece away. Go ahead and set this piece off to the side. Go ahead and pull out one of your zipper pockets, one of your short zippers, and a zipper pull. We'll want to add some double-sided sticky tape to either short sides of our pocket. The pattern calls for 2 8x8 pieces. I just cut one whole piece 8x16. For me, it makes it a lot easier. You can cut the 2 8x8 pieces. We're going to sew the zipper pocket on the exact same way. So we're going to baste our zipper in place to either short edge. So to this one and to this side over here. We'll add some double-sided sticky tape to this and then add our zipper pull on. And then attach it to our zipper pocket here, and we'll talk about how we're going to sew this. Okay, so we should now have our zipper pocket attached to our zipper overlay. It should be held on with just double-sided sticky tape at the moment. So now we're going to pull our zipper pocket up and out of the way. We want it to lay nice and flat back here in the back. And we're going to sew across the bottom, starting about 1/8 of an inch away across the bottom and stopping about 1/8 of an inch away. Make sure that your zipper pocket stays out of the way while you do this. Okay, so we should have something that looks like this. So you should have your stitching line all the way across the bottom. So now we want to pull our zipper pocket down nice and flat. Make sure it's laying nice and flat. And we want to sew up, starting where we stopped, across the top, and back down the other side, and stopping where we ended. Okay, so just like this. So And you can see where that pocket is sewn there in the back. So the only thing that's left to do is to close up our sides for the pocket, and then we'll be complete with this. Okay, so now we should have our zipper pocket sewn. If you have all this extra overhang, you can trim all of this off to get it out of the way. Okay, so now we're going to want to pull out piece number 5. If you're doing a magnetic snap, then you should already have your magnetic snap installed. If you're not doing a magnetic snap, you'll actually end up installing the turn lock after we sew this piece. So we want to add our 2 pieces, right sides together, centered. And we want to sew along the outside edge, not this top edge though, just along the outside, the curve. We'll leave this top completely open. You'll want to notch your curves afterwards on both curves here. Turn this right side out and top stitch the entire thing. Okay, so our flap should look like this now. My magnetic snap installed. Again, if you are installing a turn lock, it would be at this point that you would go ahead and cut this out to install that turn lock. Otherwise, if you have your magnetic snap on there, you should have that installed as well. So we need to keep our flap pulled out. We also need to pull out piece number 4, which is the front, back, top panel. And we also need piece number 3, but we need the top. We need the front, back, bottom panel. So the piece that's going to be just a little bit longer than our other 2 pieces. So if you kind of see the length, the difference there. So you have 2 pieces that are shorter for that slip pocket, and then 1 piece that's a little bit longer. So you want the longer piece. Go ahead and set your other 2 pieces off to the side. You should already have your center marked. We're going to lay our flap wrong side or interior side of our flap to the right side of our panel, centered. Now you're welcome to baste this in place if you would like. I'm just going to do this all at one time. So I've got my top marked here for my panel 4. So I'm going to go ahead and place my bottom centered right side of 4 to right side of flap. And center that, and then clip the rest of the way across. Okay, and then we're going to sew this together at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. After we sew it, we're going to flip our top panel and our flap up. Make sure this bottom panel stays down and your seam allowance is pointed down, and then we're going to top stitch across here at an 1/8 inch. Okay, so we should now have our front part of the back part of our front sewn together with our flap and then top stitched. So for the moment, set this piece to the side. We'll need it in the next step, so don't put it too far. You'll want to pull out your other 2 remaining piece 3 pieces. We're going to line up our interior piece with our exterior piece, right sides together and centered. I will make note real quick, if you have not installed your male turn lock, you'll want to install that after we top stitch this. It just keeps it out of the way. So you'll install that male turn lock after we top stitch this. So you're going to, both panels, right sides together. We're going to sew this top part at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, turn them wrong sides together, and top stitch. Okay, so we should now have our exterior slip pocket top stitched and basted around the edge. If you need to install your male turn lock, you should have done that before you basted this. So now we want to take this piece and pull back out our front back piece with the flap. I don't know what you want to call this entire piece now, but this piece here with the flap, we're going to baste this piece onto this piece here. So you'll just line up, center, and baste stitch all the way around the outside. So go ahead and set that piece off to the side for a moment. You'll baste that and we'll come back to it. But in the meantime, we can go ahead and pull out piece 8, which is our bottom panel. And for right now, we need just the exterior piece. And both piece 7 pieces, which is your side panel piece. And again, we just need the exterior piece. You're going to take piece 7 and line it up short side. So if you look at piece 7, the top is more narrow than the bottom, so you want the wider piece of piece 7 to be attached to piece 8. You'll sew across here at an 1/8 inch seam allowance. Trim these corners out of the way so you don't have so much bulk there. Turn this right side out to where your seam allowance is facing upward, and top stitch. And you'll do that to both piece 7 pieces. So you'll attach the other one to the other side of piece 8. And same thing, sew it in place at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Trim your corners down. So right here on the corners, trim those down, and then turn this turn this wrong sides together and top stitch. Okay, so we should now have our front exterior piece finished with that flap and our slip pocket there. Ooh, I am loving this. I went ahead and added my label. This is a great spot to add your label here. You can even add it here to the flap, but I really enjoy putting it up here at the top. Loving it so far. And then we should also have our side pieces connected to our bottom panel and top stitched as well. And then I went ahead and found the centers of my side panels, and I found the centers of my bottom panel too, because we'll need that to know those when we go to add our exterior panels on. So at this point, if you are going to add piping to your bag, you'll want to go ahead and add your piping now to your front exterior and your back exterior. I've chosen not to add piping to this bag, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video. Also, the other thing that I will not be using is number 10, the strap connectors, but I will show you how you're going to do this. So you're going to mark a line down the center of your strap connector, pull your double-sided sticky tape off, attach this to the center, on either side, but you will not top stitch this. You'll leave this untop stitched at the moment. Okay, so just like this. You'll add your square ring on here, fold this down by 7/8 of an inch, and top stitch across. You'll take and fold the rest of it up to meet that, and then you'll end up attaching this to your side panel. So you'll end up attaching it like this to your side panel. Again, I'm not using this piece. I'm actually going to be using a connector that's going to connect onto my bag after we finish the bag. So if you're going to do that, you'll need to go ahead and do your side connectors and attach them to the side panels now. So once you have your piping, you have your side connectors, if you're using them connected, we're now at the point where we are ready to attach our side gusset with the side panel and our bottom panel to our exterior panels. It doesn't matter how you do this. You can do this with the front panel first and then the back panel, or the back panel and then the front panel. It really does not matter. But what you're going to do is you're going to find the center of your bottom panel. You're going to line it up with the center of the bottom part of your front panel. I'm going to kind of rotate this around and clip that in place. Now I like to clip all along my straight edge here. So I'm going to clip from sewn edge to sewn edge. And this is just going to allow it to stay in place without it shifting while I'm trying to clip the rest of the bag. So once I have my bottom clipped in place, I'm then going to pull my side panel up. I'm going to attach it to my top to where it's nice and straight up here at the top and lined up on the edges. And again, we're going to clip this all the way down to where our curve starts, and then we're going to stop before we get into that curve. So something kind of like this. So right before I get into that curve, I just stop right there. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Excuse me while I rotate this around. So again, same thing, we want to make sure that our top edge is lining up as well as our side edge. And then clip this in place all along that straight side edge here until we get to the curve. Okay, so just like this. So you can see right before I get to that curve, I stop. Now I'm working with vinyl that's a little on the stretchy side, so I feel confident that I'm going to be able to pull and stretch this to meet my edge. However, if you're working with a type of material that does not stretch well, or maybe you're working with a stiffer vinyl, you will need to make clips into your curved edge here on your gusset at about maybe a 1/4 inch. Because we're going to be doing a 1/2 inch seam allowance, you have plenty of room to clip in here to get this to fit properly. But again, because I'm working with a vinyl that's rather stretchy, I'll be able to stretch this to fit. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to stretch this over to fit my curve. Okay, so just like this. So now you should have your front panel clipped to your side gusset as well as your bottom piece. And we're going to sew this piece at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. What I like to do is I like to sew mine starting just about an inch below the top at an 1/8 of an inch first. This is where I'm going to focus on making sure that my panels are staying nice and lined up and not trying to focus so much on my seam allowance while I'm trying to pull clips out. So I'll start, like I said, about a 1/2 inch below my top panel at an 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and then I'll go back and sew at my 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, so we should now have our front panel sewn to our side gusset. You should have your seam allowances trimmed down to about a 1/4 of an inch, starting at your 1 inch mark all the way down, and then clipping into your curve here so that we can have a nice curve when we turn this right side out. So now we want to go ahead and add our back panel to our side panel or our side gusset here in the exact same manner that we did the front panel. So we'll line everything up center, clip at the bottom down here, clip at our sides till we get to our curve on either side, and then clip into our curves. Sew this at an 1/8 of an inch and then sewing it at a 1/2 inch. Okay, so now that we have our exterior part sewn, both in front and back, if you're doing the drop-in lining, you'll want to go ahead and pull your double-sided sticky tape off and fold your exterior down to that line. One thing that I do like to do is right here where I've made that 1 inch mark, get a little bit closer, right here where I've made that 1 inch mark, I like to clip right there just up to my seam allowance so I can then open up my seams here so it doesn't get so bulky. So you'll want to do that to all 4 sides, and then if you're doing the drop-in lining, go ahead and fold your exterior down to that 1 inch line and then set this off to the side. So next we're going to be working on the interior of the bag. We're going to add our zipper trim the exact same way that we did for the exterior part of the bag. So adding your zipper trim to your panel, sewing around the outside, and then adding your zipper to the inside. The other part that we're going to do is on our other piece of lining, we're going to add our zipper pocket to our lining, sew all the way around the outside, of course top stitch up here first, then sew the outside, and then if you choose to sew a center line, go ahead and sew a center line on this piece as well. Okay, so we should now have the exterior part of our bag complete with it folded down if you're doing that drop-in lining, and either clipped in place or just use the tape to hold it. I tend to do both, tape and clip it, just to make sure that it doesn't come undone. So go ahead and set this exterior piece to the side for now. You should also have completed your interior slip pocket pieces and your interior zip pocket as well, and then with it closed up in the back. So now we want to pull out our zipper placket, so piece 9 or zipper placket, and you should have 2 interior pieces and 2 exterior pieces, And these pieces should also be marked 3/8 of an inch on either side. And I just tend to do it on all 4 pieces. So now we're going to pull out our longest zipper and one of our exterior pieces and one of our interior pieces, and go ahead and set the other 2 off to the side for now. Something that's super scary that we don't always like to do, we're going to separate this zipper. So go ahead and separate that zipper out. I know it's scary, I promise we'll fix it, but we're going to separate it out for now because it's easier to work with one piece rather than working with 2 pieces. So we're going to take our lining piece, go ahead and pull the backing off, and then you're going to line your teeth up. So the edge of your teeth right here, you're going to line that up with that 3/8 inch seam allowance. Wrong side of zipper to right side of lining. We're going to flip this over. This back side here, we want to fold it up where that 3/8 inch mark is. So if you have some tape and you need to pull that tape off. This part you can use double-sided sticky tape to hold this in place. I just fold mine back and then I'll use a clip to clip it in place. You can also iron this if you would like, but for now I just use a clip to hold it there. Okay. So now we're going to take our exterior piece, pull that backing off, and now we're going to lay right side of exterior to right side of zipper and right side of lining panel and line everything up. And again, same thing, I'm going to take and fold back right at that 3/8 inch mark and then just pop a clip on there to hold that in place. So now we're going to sew along our 3/8 inch up, and then we're going to come across our zipper at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Make sure you back stitch at the end in the beginning, so up the 3/8 across here at a 1/4 inch, and then back stitch at the end, and you'll do the same thing with your other placket as well. Okay, so now you should have your zipper placket sewn together with your zipper sandwiched in between. So from here you're going to clip your corners. Be sure not to clip your zipper in here though, so just clip that corner here and down here at the bottom. Turn this right side out and you'll want to stitch all four sides. So I went ahead and did that ahead of time to this one here. So this is what it should look like. You want to go ahead and mark your center. Grab one of your lining panels, and we want to place our zipper placket centered with our lining panel with our exterior part face up. So you'll go ahead and center that in place. And now you want to pull out your lining top panel. Go ahead and grab one of those. Set the other one off to the side. These should already be marked with your center marking on the top and the bottom. You should have your top marked. If you're doing the drop-in lining, you should have this marked 1 inch down with double-sided sticky tape. We'll want to add the center of our bottom piece, centered exterior to exterior. We're going to sew across this at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Turn this to where our placket is facing up and top stitch across here. We'll do that to both panels. Okay, so we should now have our lining panel pieces complete with our zipper placket on there. So on both of those, and you can see where that seam allowance is faced down when you go to top stitch this here. So you should have both pieces that are done that way. Okay, go ahead and set both of those off to the side. Go ahead and pull out your lining side panel and your lining bottom panel. And in the exact same way that we did our exterior bottom and lining, we're going to do our lining the exact same way. So we're going to add short sides to short sides. Sew across here at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Separate our seam allowances and top stitch, and you'll do that to both lining pieces to the bottom panel pieces as well. Okay, so again, so across that 1/2 inch, separate your seams and top stitch. Okay, so just like this. So now your bottom panel and your side panel should be sewn together at a 1/2 inch, your seams separated and top stitched. So just like we did with the exterior part of the bag, we're going to take our, what I'm now referring to as the side gusset, add it to our panels. We're going to start at a 1/2 inch seam allowance till we get past this 1 inch mark. Once we get past that 1 inch mark, we can start to increase it to 5/8 seam allowance. The reason why we increase it by 1/8 of an inch is so that when we go to put our bag in, the lining will sit nice and flush at the bottom and won't be all crumpled up. So we'll start at our 1/2 inch, and then once we get past the 1 inch mark, we'll start to increase to that 5/8 inch. Okay, so now our lining should be complete. We should have both of our panels attached to our gusset. You can kind of see the inside there. One thing I did forget to mention is if you're doing the birthing method, you would want to leave a hole from beginning of seam to beginning of seam, which is a big enough hole that you can then birth this bag through. But because we're doing a drop-in lining, we don't need to leave a hole at all. So just as we did with our exterior part, we're going to clip right at that 1 inch mark right here. We're going to fold our seams back and out of the way. So you can kind of see that back. And then you may need to add a little bit of piece of tape across here just to hold it. And then we'll end up turning our panels down to that 1 inch mark all the way around. And then after we do that, you may want to add another piece of double-sided sticky tape along the edge down here, so that when we go to drop this into the exterior, it has something to hold on besides just clips. Personally, I like to glue my drop-in linings in. That way when I go to top stitch all this, I don't have to worry about anything shifting or coming out of place, and it stays nice and even across the entire top of it. So let's go ahead and do that. Clip into our 1 inch here, fold our seams back, and then fold our seam down to that 1 inch mark. Okay, so now that we have dropped our lining into our bag and we have it clipped in place, from here you can go ahead and start top stitching it. But what I like to do is I like to glue my drop-in linings in using Fabric Fusion. It's Aleene's Fabric Fusion. What I like about this particular tube is that it has a sponge here on the end that you can use to, swipe. Or on the other side, it has a real nice fine tip on it, which makes it nice for getting down in between the two layers of vinyl. So personally, I like to glue mine in. I have found that Fabric Fusion is it's a permanent hold glue, but it's just a little bit easier to work with. It dries relatively quick. Of course, I always wait 24 hours in between gluing and sewing just in case it still is a little tacky. Even though this is a sewable glue, or it says it's a sewable glue, I still prefer to wait that full 24 hours to make sure that it is 100% dry. I've also seen where people use this glue here, Turbo Tacky Glue. Now this one does dry incredibly fast, but it is not rated for sewing. So, but some people still use it with sewing, just so long as you wait until it is fully dry. Another brand that a lot of people like to use is the Beacon 3-in-1. I'm not super partial to this one on printed vinyl because it is alcohol based and it can cause the print or the color on your vinyl to come off. So I'm not super partial to using this one with printed vinyl, but if you're using just like regular, like this blue vinyl here, pebbled vinyl that's not been colored or sublimated, you can use the Beacon 3-in-1. One other glue that you can use is the Eco Weld. Now, this is a water-based contact solution, so not very good for doing the drop-in linings like we're going to do here, but this is a great glue for adding your Decovil Heavy to your bottom bases, but you would have to put contact cement on the vinyl piece and on the Decovil Heavy and then put them together. Eco Weld is great though. It is water-based, so you don't have to worry about it causing any type of discoloration with your vinyls or your fabrics. So I'm going to use Fabric Fusion. I'm going to glue my lining to my exterior. I'm going to let it set for a full 24 hours, and when I come back I will top stitch it, and then we'll be ready to finish this bag off. Okay, so it's now the next day. My glue is dry now, so we can go ahead and start top stitching this. So I just pull off some clips around the entire thing. I don't pull them all off. I mean, I could because it's glued, it's in place, it's not going anywhere. But I'm always such a nervous Nelly about pulling them all off and having just one that's gonna end up shifting someplace, and then my top stitching won't be right. So one thing with this bag, because we have these seams that are here, we need to take and really press those down. So I use a seam presser. You can purchase this on Amazon, and I'll put it down in the link. But you'll want to take these and really go in and press all of those down all the way around, because they're so thick right here and they're really kind of high. You'll end up skipping stitches over across this if you don't get those good and pressed down. So I'm going to do that, get it good and pressed down, and then we'll top stitch her. Okay, so I have her all top stitched now, all the way around. So cute. I am in love. She is adorable. So the last thing for me to do is to add my zipper pull to my top zipper. I'll end up, I'm not real partial to these real long tails like this, so I'll end up cutting my tail down, and I'm going to add a zipper cap to the end of my tail. The pattern does call for you to make your own zipper end or your own zipper cap. I just happen to have these on hand, so I decided to use a zipper cap instead. And then for me, the last thing for me to do is to also install my, my side connectors onto the side of my bag right here. So I'll end up having to punch holes and add the screw plate on there. And then add your strap to it, and then you're all done. Wow, she came together so good. I am so impressed with how this looks. I just love it. So the vinyl that I used today came from the Peanut Gallery on Facebook. I'll put a link down below for you. Hardware came from these strap connectors, so you can see where I decided to add my strap connectors instead. Those actually came from Temu. I was pretty impressed when they came in. They're quite nice. So those strap connectors there. I did decide to do mine in crossbody. Very cute. Came together so well. Of course, you can see that front flap here with that nice large, and that slip pocket goes the entire length of that bag. So cute, came together so well. So you can see adding the strap connectors here on the side, or if you wanted to actually add the strap connectors, piece number 10, you could do that as well. You could even add your strap connectors here on these front part, on the back side as well. So if you wanted a double strap, so for more of like a shoulder bag rather than a crossbody, you could do that with this bag as well. One thing that I will say that I wish I would have done, I wish I would have stabilized my sides a little bit better, because you can see they're really rather thin. Because the pattern didn't call for it, so I didn't use anything to stabilize my sides, but now I kind of wish I would have, because it is rather soft. So it's definitely not a structured bag at all. So that's one thing that I probably will change in the future, is that instead of using fleece for my My front and back panel and my sides, I'll probably end up using like a Pellon or a Decoville Light instead. But she is cute. I do love her. Give you a kind of a look at that vinyl. I just love this vinyl. It's so much fun. And like I said, I'll put a link down below of how to get to the Peanut Gallery on Facebook. They are a pre-order group, but you can also, like they have a flash sale that they do every week, so you can do their flash sale and kind of get in on that. And that's where I get this blue vinyl from, is from their flash sale. So super cute. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to give it a big old thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and hit that bell. And we'll see you guys later. As always, live a paradise life.